everyone. This is TN Inside. Let's begin by reading today's scripture passage from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 8. So today, we're going to dive into a really pivotal moment in ancient history, the day a nation facing a huge crisis of leadership demanded a king. But you'll see, this wasn't just some political move. It was a decision that, honestly, would pit them against their own God and set the stage for a tragic story of power, rebellion, and a surprisingly reluctant hero. And this is the verse that really sets the stage for everything. It's God speaking to the prophet Samuel, and he just cuts right to the heart of the matter. They have not rejected you, but they've rejected me from being king over them. See, the people are asking for a human king, but God immediately sees the much, much deeper issue at play. Okay, so what exactly pushed them to this point? What made them make such a dangerous demand? It all started, as you'll see, with a complete and total failure in leadership. You see, the prophet Samuel, this guy who'd been a rock for the nation, he's getting old. And his sons, the guys he appointed to take over, they're the complete opposite of him. They're crooked, they're taking bribes, twisting justice. It's a total mess. And this creates a huge leadership vacuum, right? So the elders of Israel, they've had enough. They get together and decide it's time to go talk to Samuel. So they go to Samuel, and here's what they say. Now, on the surface, it sounds reasonable, right? But the real poison is in that last part, like all the other nations. See, their motive wasn't really about good leadership. It was about fitting in. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. Israel was supposed to be different, a theocracy, right? A nation ruled directly by God. That was their whole identity. But they got tired of it. They got tired of trusting a God they couldn't see. They looked around at their neighbors, saw these kings with their armies and their palaces, and they wanted that. That's exactly why God says to Samuel, hey, this isn't about you. They're rejecting me. So what does God do? Well, he decides to give the people what they think they want, but not before laying out let's call it the terms and conditions. And trust me, the price for this new king is going to be steep. Samuel just lays it all out, and it's brutal. A king isn't just going to lead. He's going to take. He's going to take your sons for his army. He's going to take your daughters to work in his palace. He's going to take the best of your land, tax you on everything you grow. And then comes the final punch. You yourselves will become his servants. It's a really grim picture of what life is about to become. So after hearing this absolutely terrifying warning, what do the people say? They basically ignore it. They just double down, saying, nope, we don't care about the cost, we will have a king. You know, that desire to be like everybody else was just way stronger than any fear of what was coming. Now, this is so important to get. Just because God said yes doesn't mean he approved of it. Not at all. He was letting them have their way so they could learn a really, really hard lesson. He was going to let them experience what human rule is really like, hoping that, after a few centuries of dealing with flawed, broken kings, they'd finally remember who their true king was all along. And just like that, the decision is made. And the story takes this sharp turn. We pivot away from all this high-stakes national drama and zoom into the quiet countryside, where the search for Israel's first king starts in, the most ordinary way you could possibly imagine. Yeah, just think about that contrast for a second. The nation's leaders are arguing about their destiny, and where is God's chosen king? He's not in a war room, he's not in a palace, he's out wandering the hills on the most mundane chore ever, looking for his dad's lost donkeys. And this guy, his name is Saul. On paper, physically, he's exactly what you'd imagine a king to be. He's tall, he's handsome, but his background, it's all wrong. He comes from the tribe of Benjamin, one of the smallest, least powerful tribes in Israel. He's not some war hero, he's not royalty. He is, for sure, an unlikely choice. He totally subverts what the people were probably picturing when they demanded a king. So while they're out there searching, Saul's servant gets this idea. He says, hey, let's go ask the local seer for help. And a seer was basically an early word for a prophet. Someone who sees what God is up to. And as luck or providence would have it, the most famous seer in the whole region is Samuel himself. And this is where it all clicks into place. This meeting is absolutely not a coincidence. God had already tipped Samuel off, telling him that the man destined to be king was on his way.
So what Saul thinks is just this frustrating, dead-end search for some lost animals is actually a divine appointment.
Okay, so now we get to the final act. This is where this quiet, private meeting is about to become a huge public coronation, a moment that's going to change the course of Israel's history forever. So the whole thing unfolds in a few steps. First, Samuel anoints Saul in private, and then gives him these prophetic signs to prove that this is all from God. And guess what? They all come true, one by one. It's only after that that Samuel calls the entire nation together for the big public reveal. They use a sacred lot to show everyone who God has chosen, and surprise, surprise, it falls on Saul. So this is it. This is his big moment. It's the culmination of everything the people have been demanding. The crowd is waiting, his name gets called out, but there's just one problem. Saul is nowhere to be found. I mean, can you believe it? They finally find him, hiding among the baggage, the supplies, the man handpicked by God to be king. The guy who's literally a head taller than everyone else is so completely overwhelmed that he's hiding from his own coronation. It's this incredible picture of, I don't know, maybe deep humility or maybe just paralyzing fear. So they drag him out, put him in front of everybody, and when the people see their new leader, tall, impressive, most of them just erupt. They start shouting, "Long live the king!" But not everyone. The text makes a point of saying that some worthless men despised him. They're basically looking at him and thinking, this guy is going to save us?
And right there, that's Saul's very first test as king. How is he going to handle public criticism right out of the gate? Does he lash out, have them arrested? Nope, he does nothing. He remained silent. It's actually a pretty amazing show of patience and humility.
So Israel gets its king. A man who starts his reign hiding from the spotlight and holding his tongue when people insulted him. But all this leaves us with this one huge critical question that's going to hang over his entire tragic story. How long can that kind of humility possibly survive the crushing weight and the corrupting influence of a crown?